Welcome to the Deconstructed Woman podcast, a podcast about breaking down barriers between women, exploring and sharing perspectives of each individual woman's experience, and discovering what we have in common and what makes us different. Hosted by Elisa Marie and Joji. So welcome back to the Deconstructed Woman podcast. Today, Joji and I wanted to dive into the world of mom entrepreneurs. And Joji had come up with an article and brought this topic up for us to discuss about how some of the qualities that moms have can help in the realm of being a professional and also in the realm of being an entrepreneur. And I think that there's a lot of characteristics that do help to create that, but it also can be a challenge at times to balance work and life and all of the things that go into that. So, Joji, I'm going to pass it on to you quickly just so you can get us underway with the topic. And then we'll talk about some of our experiences as well.
Okay, sounds good. So, just to define the topic, it's actually been shortened to mompreneur, and it's defined as a mother who has started her own business. And according to Shopify, more than half of women with children are interested in entrepreneurship, with 44% of mothers who aren't already business owners saying they're interested in starting one. And so clearly, women who have children are interested in that. Some of the reasons why I think that's the case is because I do feel as you start having children and your time is scarce, I think it's natural to say, how can I spend more time with my child? And if I could work from home or if I could invest in something that is my idea, maybe there would be more traction. And if I can work from home and also take care of my children, maybe that will reduce my childcare costs and I'll be spending more time with my family. And so I think those are the things that go through our minds. You may have a good idea about something to try, or you may have some ideas that you've been interested in and you just were waiting for the right opportunity to launch this idea. And as we were looking at this as a topic, one of the things that I was interested in was, okay, so what does it say that makes for a great wise mom a great entrepreneur? And they do tell you like what you have to do for sure as to in the world of technology, what do you have to do to be able to be successful? But I think in terms of why are women very successful, it has a lot to do with just the fact that moms are natural networkers. They understand how to prioritize. They use the resources that are available. They can multitask. They're used to ups and downs because of either their career or their family life. Those are some of the most important things to talk about. Some of the things that they say in terms of how do you be successful, there are some things that will create success. So you have to focus on balancing work and family priorities. You have to create intentionally a workplace environment if you're going to be starting your own business and potentially working from home. You have to get a support system in place. Not thinking you have one is as important as putting something in place. Surrounding yourself with people who understand you and your vision for your idea or your business. And then continue to refine your purpose and plan. So you do have to go through all the steps that you would have to for a business plan, create your plan, secure funding, identify how you're going to create the product if you actually have a tangible product. If you are a service provider like a coach or somebody like that, how are you going to get clients? What are your marketing plan? All those things are very important to setting up a plan. I know that there are all sorts of different types of plans. And I know that both Alyssa and I have started different businesses. And Alyssa, tell us about what you did and what motivated you to do that.
What I did, or one of the things I did, and I agree with everything that you said about the things that go into it and the things that people are looking for. But during COVID, I think for me, I was looking at what else could I do to make money. So it started off with I needed to offset the fact that during that time my husband wasn't working. So we were one income family and I wanted to make more money. And so I looked into different things and I started to kind of branch out and dabble in some side businesses and things like that. But it very quickly engulfed me. And I think that there's some reasons for that. I think part of it is because I don't come from a business background. And so I'm not necessarily, and whatever means that may be, I think made it challenging because essentially what I was doing is working my full time job and then on the side, which is in evenings and weekends, doing other things. And that really took away from my family time and it really engulfs me at some point. So I think that there is a way to do it. I think there's pros and cons. I've seen lots of women do it. I follow a lot of women who have started their own businesses. I would love to pick their brains as to how successful they are in the monetary gain that they are getting from that. But at this point, I think it was about 2 years into it that I finally cut back and said, you know what? Time with my family is more important. There's too much on my plate right now. Something's got to go. And I stopped doing those side businesses. So that was my experience, though. I think that there are a lot of people out there who are doing it, who are able to manage it. And they talk a lot about time management and kind of setting quote unquote work hours. And I really respect that. But it's not something that I naturally did. I think because I just threw myself into it without recognizing how much that might impact me and my family.
Yeah. So the business that I started, and I mentioned it before, is coaching. And so it's something I did after the birth of my daughter. And I did it as a way to potentially see how much business I would have and would that allow me to stop working full time. And so the first thing I did was to create a website. And because I just kept thinking, how are people going to find me? And what's interesting looking at it 20 years later is that my business was all word of mouth and my old clients would refer new people to me. I can't say that the website really helped me very much in terms of generating business, but that's also because when you're just using, like my husband said to me back then and I didn't fully understand it, is that a website is like your business card, and if you can't get your business card in front of potential clients, then the website is really not very useful because no one's going to find you given all the other businesses that are available on the internet. And so I think that took me a little bit of time to figure out. I did have some kind of a marketing strategy that I had put together, but I'm not a marketing person by training. And so I think that was really difficult to figure out how do I actually do that? I didn't have a lot of money. So I didn't want, how do you advertise? I just couldn't wrap my head around this. And because I've always also worked full time, I didn't have daytime hours to go to networking meetings or join a chamber or something that was outside of my workplace. And I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to market my business at work. And so I didn't do that either. And so there were definitely some hiccups in this business that I had in my mind. And part of the thing that I really loved about it was this idea that you could do telecoaching and that you could do it from anywhere. You could be on the beach, you could be in a hotel, you could be at home, and you would be able to charge all this money. And the way you hear it, these people will be coming out of the woodwork for you. And clearly, that was not my experience. I believe that I had success, but not ever enough success to be able to stop my job and do this exclusively. And I think that you do hit a point, I think, where you have to decide whether you're going to be all in and you're going to quit your job and invest. And a lot of people say that. A lot of business coaches say that anyway, whether you're mom or not. At some point, you can't be distracted. You need to give this a good run. And the only way to do that is to commit your time. In my particular situation, that wasn't something I felt comfortable doing. And so I tried to balance out the two. I will say what I found successful, Alyssa, which might have been different than your particular situation, is that I was able to have a client that I could do like an all day coaching on site session. And I would just charge them a flat fee to provide all the services on that one day. I took a day of vacation from work. I happened to work in an environment that I got a lot of vacation time because of my seniority there. And so that became very feasible for me to do. And I liked the flat fee because then I didn't have to like nickel and dime them, my client, for every phone conversation, every coaching session. And it just made the accounting a lot easier. It made me feel better about how I charge for my services. But that was my experience with giving a chance. And I think it's different because I guess it was easier because I was the tool. It was easier and harder. On one hand, it was easier because I was the skill that I was marketing. And so if people liked me, liked my style, then that was what we were going to be doing together. And they got a sense of what that work was going to be as long as, they understood the parameters and what was going to happen. I wasn't actually trying to create a product and try to get it to market. I always think about the woman that the movie was made about, Joy something, and she made like the topsy turvy. No, she didn't do the topsy turvy. She did the Joy hangers with the velvet on there. And I just think to myself, oh, why didn't I have that idea? That's an easy idea. But then the realities of the fact that you have to find a manufacturer that's going to create that for you, somebody to design it, somebody to manufacture it, and you have to secure the supplies and the equipment and all of that to make it happen. I have no idea about any of it, but that is something that I think is harder for me to consider given the fact that I don't have those skills and I don't know how people do that. And I don't know, Alyssa, can you talk a little bit more about the business you were in and were you selling a product or was this something you were creating or you joined a group of women or if you can speak about it, what would you like to say about it?
Yeah, so I did a couple of different things. So I started off selling a product and it was like educational materials for individuals. And at that time, like I said, during COVID, a lot of kids were learning at home. And so there was a lot, like there was a huge tick in like sales. I was doing awesome because people wanted these materials for them in their homes. They were homeschooling. I got into different groups. I had clients and then they recommended to me to their friends. And so it blew up. And then about a year and a half later, it slowed down. And so at that point I was, "Oh, okay, this had a great run, but it didn't feel like it was going to continue long term. And I really loved what I was doing. I had a real significant passion for it. But I think that I also struggled just because it wasn't like my own thing, like you were saying, like your own product. It was somebody else's product that I was selling. And so I felt like people were like, okay, yeah, I have enough materials. I don't need any more. So that did die down. I also tried different things like, trying to think of some of the things like I just really honestly I think part of it was me just trying to make quick money. And I think that's similar to what you said. You have to invest time. And I didn't have the time to really do it, but I was seeing these women on online who were creating these Facebook groups where they were selling essentially Amazon. They weren't selling Amazon items, but they were recommending them. And then if somebody bought it, they get a percentage of that, like Amazon kicks them back like 50 cents. And so you need a wide range of people to follow you. You'd have to be like almost at the influencer level for these sorts of things. And I'm over here, I could do this scoping list of things. Like I'm a mom. I can give some good ratings about things I liked and then share it with the local mom groups. But you're not really hitting the numbers. You need to hit thousands and thousands of people need to be following you for that to actually pay off. So again, I tried different things. I learned, but I didn't realize the time commitment that these sorts of things would require. So again, it wasn't anything. I think you and I have talked about, I would love to be able to sell something that I can stand behind in like a product or a program or something like that. But the right thing hasn't fallen into my lap just yet. I feel, and I'm guessing that maybe a lot of parents maybe have that experience of feeling like I have so much to share, especially when I meet first time parents. Oh man, let me tell you, I have a wealth of knowledge after having four kids, 10 years into my parenting journey. I'm still learning, but I want to impart knowledge on other people and help them. And I think that always one of the things that I think happens for moms in particular is, okay, how can I market this? How can I help other people and make money? And I think that's, again, one of those things where if you have a great idea, run with it. But if you're just flapping in the wind like I was, I wouldn't encourage it because it didn't go anywhere. And that's not to say that something won't happen in the future. But right now, I definitely have taken a step back and said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to make sure that it's something I want to do, that I'm passionate about it, and that it's going to have a good, solid plan behind it before I jump in because it's going to take time away from my family. And that's something I'm not willing to just give up haphazardly.
And I want to add to this. I want to add to that to your comment by saying there are people out there that will mentor you for free. And so every Chamber of Commerce has a program called SCORE, and it's a abbreviation, and it's SCORE, and they are retired executives that will help you create a business plan, understand your vision, know how to take your product to market if you want to do that. And I have used that resource in my community over the years because these are people who've retired from the business world. And if you could ask for a female entrepreneur, you could ask for very specific types of industries and get aligned with those folks. And I've always found them to be helpful, but you only get out of it what you put into it. And so if the task is to create a business plan, you have to come back with that plan. And so I think you have to be ready to do that, but those resources, and they're free, are available to individuals who really want to do that. There's also lots of funding for women nowadays. There's also the Small Business Bureau and grants that are out there and available. There's even programs like I love the program in Batavia that allows you to almost have a small scale experience of a business. It's like the little shops in Batavia, right on the corner of, I want to say, 31 and something. Wilson, I'm not sure if that's what it is, but it's those little shops that you get to pilot it and see before you invest in like brick and mortar types of things. You can try to give that a small try and see, okay, what is it going to take for me to do this and work out the kinks? Can I create, if you're a baker, can I create the product I need to? What is the interest level? How am I going to do with the competition that already exists? And then decide whether you have a unique enough product to take it to market. And so I think that there are ways to try an idea and see. I think some of the biggest fallacies with an online business is even the coaching business that I started, it was really an online promotion setup for marketing. And I think what I learned is exactly what my husband told me, but also the people that are successful are targeting not just one social media platform, but they're working all of them: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and all the things that are coming and going. And so, whereas Twitter or X or whatever it's called today was a big deal 5 years ago. Now Instagram is the big thing. And then tomorrow it'll be another platform. And you have to keep all these kinds of things going. And then you also should have an associated blog that is sent out or a newsletter that's sent out. And the larger number of people that you can add to this newsletter, blog kind of thing, and people sharing it with other people, then with everything else on social media, it becomes about scale and being able to scale up to, like you said, Alyssa, to an influencer or to have a celebrity status or to have something go viral or get your name out there in a really big way. And when you're busy trying to run a household and you're working full time and you're trying to do this on the side, it's hard to carve out that time to be able to do all these different platforms. And you might be using them for the first time. You might be trying your hand at it, but then you also have to be a marketer and a writer, and create these newsletters and possibly record on TikTok. And that's a lot of learning and a lot of time. And if you have one child, maybe that might be feasible if you have a partner that supports you. And then what do you do if your partner doesn't support you or feels like this isn't going to get anywhere and sees it as a drain on your family time. There are so many things. I also had other family members say to me, "Why are you distracting from your family? Like your time is so limited. Like, why are you almost segmenting your time? And is that the best way to do it?" And then I felt, am I not caring for my child and spending less time, even though why I'm doing it was very clear in my mind? But I started to second guess myself. And I do feel like going back to the conversation we had about how champions think, your belief in your skill and your commitment and your confidence to be successful is a key component to even being a business owner and continuing to work hard without wearing your own self down because the questions that keep you up at night. So I don't know if you have thoughts to add about that, Alyssa, in terms of how, if that was a factor for you or not, in terms of partner support, family support, your own psyche, and any thoughts that you are having.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And that's one of the reasons why I said it has to be something I'm really passionate about, because I think that passion helps you to move forward and to help you to really throw yourself into something. And when that, I would assume that at some point I'll find that piece of the missing puzzle. And when I do, I think that's something that I think that I have that kind of desire, like you were saying, to have more time with my family, to make my own hours. I think that sometimes, and this kind of also goes back to our conversation about the great resignation, that a lot of people were like, maybe they weren't working from home, but now they're thinking, gosh, I really do enjoy being home. I do enjoy the flexibility of making my own hours. There are a lot of benefits to doing those sorts of things, but you definitely has to be something that you're passionate about, and it has to be something that you've really put thought into. And so I think that what I've learned over the last couple of years is that you can't just throw yourself into it and expect great things, but with the right plan. And I love that you gave some resources or some ideas for people who are maybe thinking about this, that there are ways to go about doing that. But it definitely takes some thought and some ability to focus. But again, I see it every day. I see and follow different people who are doing exactly what I would love to do in some capacity. And it's amazing to see them. Uh, and a lot of them, I will say that they started 10, 15, 20 years ago. It may not get off up and running in just a year, but who knows what time length it would take for you to do something like that. So I'm both encouraging people to explore different options, especially for those who have an idea and want to run with it, but be thoughtful about it and make sure that you know what you're getting into, because I think that it can quickly really take over and you find yourself having less time with your family, which is contrary to what a lot of reasons why people go into it. So that's all I had to add to that. I think it's summing it up, but I appreciate this topic and discussing what our experiences are, and hopefully this resonates with somebody out there who's maybe thinking about this as well.
Yeah. And before we close, I wanted to share one article that I found really helpful. And so it looks like a female entrepreneur herself. Her name is Chrissy Powers, and her website is Chrissy, CHRISYPOWERS.com. And she wrote an article, a blog about why mothers make the best entrepreneurs. And she identified a couple different traits that I want to share. So, working under pressure, as we know, moms have to do 100 things at one time, and we're very good at getting everything done and being able to multitask in a lot of different ways. Number two, negotiation skills. And as we are selling ourselves and we're negotiating with children, multiple children, oldest children, negotiating with them to get them to do what we need them to do, eat their food, whatever it is. The third idea is creativity and the ability to crowdsource. So that's really about being able to leverage your network and be able to get people to support you because, as she says, it takes a village to really launch a business. Putting your ego aside. This really speaks to, as women, we really are very selfless and we don't need to be the center of attention given everything we're trying to do. And that we know that going from a pregnancy to a mom of a newborn, you go from being the star to being like lettuce on the plate. All of a sudden, the baby takes the attention. And so I think that as you are resourceful and smart and hardworking, that's really going to be the key traits that make you successful. And then she talks about weathering the ups and downs. And obviously, being an entrepreneur, as you've heard me talk about and Alyssa talk about, is a roller coaster. There's a lot of fulfillment that we get out of the work because we're giving a product to a family member or like a person like Alyssa was saying during COVID that had a need and she was able to meet that need. Or when I worked with certain clients that really appreciated the work and we did a lot of good work together, it's extremely fulfilling. I think a lot of the articles I read about female entrepreneurs also said that they loved being a role model for their children, whether they're daughters or sons, that their children saw them being successful and being creative and finding different revenue streams and brought a different facet to that parenting relationship. And so I definitely feel we do all of these things and being successful as a mom, though we don't always feel successful. And we know that there are good days and bad days in parenting as well. These are all the things that make us able to focus and also at the same time multitask. And even those ironic statements are within parenting and mothering as well. And I don't know if there's anything more you want to add, Alyssa, before I close this out, but just wanted to open that conversation up if there's any final thoughts you had.
No, I think that's a lot of the things that we talked about, and I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts and go from there.
Yep. And if there are people who have ideas or you've been successful in your running a business, starting a business, we would really love to hear from you. This is what this platform is really about. And once again, thank you to the listeners who have reached out to us and shared their comments about the topics that we've had. We find a lot of joy in reading them and sharing them amongst ourselves. And so, if there are some entrepreneurs that really want to share their journey with us, we'd love to hear about it. You can reach out to us on our Facebook page, The Deconstructed Woman, or reach out to us by our Gmail account, deconstructedwoman@gmail.com. There's lots of different ways. The Riverside platform is also a way for you to get a hold of us. So there's many ways to reach out to us. And we would really welcome and even love to interview somebody who has found success or found failure and what they learned from it, because I do feel that every failure is an opportunity to create the next evolution of yourself or your business or your family. And so I think that is something that requires a listen to as well. So please reach out to us. And from Joji and Alyssa Marie, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, we'll sign off for now. Thanks. Thank you for listening to our podcast, The Deconstructed Woman. If you liked this podcast, please share it with your friends, rate this episode, or subscribe to be notified of all new content. We want to hear from you, our listener. Do you have thoughts on the discussions we're having? Want to share topic suggestions? Or want to join us for a topic that you're passionate about? Contact us at our email address, thedeconstructedwoman@gmail.com.